Good afternoon, everyone. I am B-Boy Cortez once again. As I am always saying, I hope everyone is doing great. I hope you are healthy and productive in your respective works and jobs. To ensure that we will have a smooth flowing webinar today, please check your devices and make sure your internet is running perfectly to avoid any disruptions. Um, You can close other applications running from your mobile phones or desktop or laptop you are using because this can affect the activity of our platform, which is the webinar jam. Make sure also that you can hear me crystal clear and can see me well and my plant. Okay. Shout out to all plantitos and plantitas out there. While waiting for other participants, you can say hi or hello through our chat box and include your institutions, and I will quickly acknowledge you. Okay, so we have 215 participants. We have Fatima Renz from... So good afternoon from La Consolacion College, Tanawan City, Miss Emeline Dispasupil. From Rizal Memorial Colleges, Davao City, Ronat Tabauda. Christian greetings from Bukidnon State University, Miss Florence Veneranda. Hello po. Felix Bolocon from SLSU San Juan Campus. Good afternoon po. We have Franenisha Reconsal from Northeastern College, Santiago City, Isabela. Wow. Okay. Well. City of Cute, Cebu City. Hello. Mark Francis Onde. So we have Miss Myra Morta from Notre Dame of Marbel University, Coronadal City, South Cotabato. Hello po. We have Lilibeth Lagmay Laigo from PUP Manila. We have Aida Osorio from Surigao del Sur State University. Marjun Nocos, UC School of Law. UC University of... Okay, we have Sheila Lianda from Lourdes College, Cagayan de Oro City. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe also, Miss Sheila. Okay. We have Jerica Dioneda from St. Dominic College of Asia, Bacoor City, Cavite. Hello po. Maylin Talatala from Southland College, Cabancalan City, Negros Occidental. Ruben de Guzman from Baliwag, Bulacan. Hello, katabing bayan lang. Okay, Fatima Renz Margaret from Quezon City Public Library. Hello po. Okay. Dayanjin Gamad from Isabela College of Arts and Technology Incorporated, Kawayan City, Isabela. We also have from Naga City, University of Nueva Caceres, Maria Lourdes Francisco. Hello po. Okay. We are 236 as of the moment. So Maria Linda Flores from Our Lady of Peace School, Antipolo City. Hello po. We also have Alnek Kinoveba from Sultan Kudarat State University. Okay. We also have Mary Claire Megalbio from UANP, University of Asia and the Pacific. Helma Ebao from St. Columban College, Pagadian City, Zamboanga del Sur. Hello po. Imelda Peralta from Bicol University College of Law Library. So we also have Liceo de Cagayan University, CEU Makati, Bukidnon State University, Malaybalay, Bukidnon. So good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat po sa pag-attend sa ating third installment of our webinar series. Okay. So let me take this opportunity also to invite everyone to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/nallph.org. Or you can easily search Network of Academic Law Librarians and hit like to be updated with our future activities and webinars. Also, like the Facebook page of our partner for this webinar, Regalo, Touching Lives. They have a bunch of webinars offered for us librarians. So this pandemic gave us the opportunity to collect certificates, right? And also learning from webinars. Before, we are limited to attend seminars because of insufficient funding or because of our hectic schedules and waiting for the approval of administration. But now, it's raining webinars and certificates. Can I ask how many certificates do you already have? No? From local and international conferences, webinars, workshops, or even short courses. This is very helpful for us to complete the needed CPD points in renewing our PRC license. So make sure also to collect all your learnings and share it with your colleagues. Apply these learnings to make our library performance and services better. So, wow, 11 certificates from Juan Magdalen. 2 certificates, Elena Macalando. And we are blessed because all the webinars or most of our webinars are free. Wow, 32, Miguel Jose. That's okay. Pwede na yan hanggang pang ilang renewal. 16 certificates. Okay. Okay. I think we can already start our program. We have 247 participants. Okay. May I call on Miss Joanna Camante, one of the board members of the Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated, to lead our opening prayer.
Tayo po ay manalangin. Tayo po ay manalangin. O Diyos na makapangyarihan, kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa araw na ito na inyo pong ibinigay, na kami po ay nasa maayos na kalagayan at buhay. Sa inyo pong patuloy na paggabay at proteksyon, kami po ay nananampalataya na malagpasan ang mga suliranin at panganib. Maraming salamat po sa inyo sapagkat kami ay nakadalo sa pagtitipon na ito upang matuto at maibahagi ang aming natutunan sa aming profesional at personal na kalinangan. Naway kasihan niyo po ang aming pagtitipon at mapagtagumpayan ang aming layunin. Itinataas po namin sa inyo ang lahat ng ito. Amen.
Thank you, Miss Joanna. So, good afternoon once again. My name is Brian Boise Cortez, or you can call me B-Boy, from the University of the Philippines College of Law Library, and the current secretary of the Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated, and I will be your host for today. Welcome to our third installment of our webinar series. Our theme today is Legal Research for Law Librarians. Let us first have a quick icebreaker, and we will use menti.com for this activity. So please open menti.com and type in the code 5094690. Okay, just type in menti.com and type in 5094690 as our code. So the code is flashed on your screen. So I can also copy the code here. Okay. Okay, thank you. So you just have to answer this question. What comes to your mind when you think of the words legal research? Okay. You can type in three answers. So legal research. Okay. So menti.com. Okay. Thank you. So while waiting for your answers, the Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated would like to thank Regalo Touching Lives in the leadership of Mr. Carlos L. Eclevia Jr. for allowing to be our partner and use their platform, the Webinar Jam, and make this webinar possible. We would also like to thank the Legal Education Board, or the LEB, for supporting our all the projects of the network, NALL, and endorsing our webinars to all the law schools all over the Philippines. Thank you very much, and we are always looking forward for more activities with you guys. So let's see the results. Okay, no results yet. How can we see the results?
Lalabas yan.
Okay. Okay. Menti. Hindi po ako makapasok. Okay, I think we have a technical problem. Okay, maybe we can proceed with this later. Okay, so over the years, the proliferation of digital legal resources has profoundly changed the way in which lawyers carry out legal research. So law librarians have had adapt rapidly to these new disruptive technologies and have had to develop new ways to train their users in how to carry out the most effective legal search. In our first webinar, we talked about the accessing, navigating, and downloading open access legal information in the Philippines that gave us opportunity to improve our collection and services by means of including free resources in our collections. These are very important resources in supporting the legal research of our library users, which are the students, alumni, lawyers, and government and private legal institutions. So over the years, the concept of information literacy, which we discussed during our second installment of our webinar series entitled On to the Next Level of Learning, the Basics of Legal Information Literacy, has increasingly been seen as a way of developing more effective legal research training programs. Today, we will talk about legal research for librarians with the following learning outcomes. First, identifying, describing, and using basic legal terminologies that will help academic law librarians in assisting law students in their research. Second, classifying resources. That is primary sources and secondary sources. And third, recognizing and applying the skills needed by academic law librarians to provide better legal research assistance. So to formally begin our program, may I call on the very active president of the Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated, Ms. Willian S. A. Frias, for her welcome remarks. Hello, Ms. Willian. I I think you have to turn on your camera and your mic. Okay. While waiting for our president, inviting everyone, all law librarians, to be our members, and you can email us at nalph.2018@gmail.com. So we can send the link to our membership form, and also yes, Ms. William,
Okay,
please like
sorry.
our Facebook page. Okay, here. Okay. Let's welcome once again Ms. William Frias.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Okay, our resource speaker, Attorney Mayos Libonao, Mr. Carlos Aclavia Jr., and the whole team of Regalo Touching Lives, fellow academic law librarians, fellow librarians, and fellow participants, good afternoon. One of the major skills that sets academic law librarians apart from other types of librarians is their knowledge in legal research. Before, I was very hesitant to introduce myself as a law librarian because I have very limited knowledge about legal research. I know that to be a legitimate law librarian, one has to know the basic structure of the law and the legal research process. He has to master the difference between primary and secondary sources, understand at least the Philippine statutes and constitutions, and acquire skills to convey it to their students and support their clients' research requirements. That is why I sat in a legal research class of attorney Viva Aguirre for one whole term before I gathered the needed courage to call myself a law librarian. In April this year, the American Association of Law Libraries revised their 2011 Principles and Standards for Legal Research Competency, which very well describes 5 principles in legal research with corresponding standards and sets of competencies per standard. The British and Irish Association of Law Librarians, or BIAL, on the other hand, has established in 2012 a working group to develop suitable legal information literacy standards for use by their colleagues in all sectors of law librarianship in the UK. Therefore, at this time, legal research in the United States and Europe and in other parts of the world has now evolved and advanced into something that law students, professors, and practitioners hold precious as they perform their daily activities. The AAL's and BIAL's stand on legal research is a concern for us because we have yet to polish our competencies in the foundation alone of legal research, and setting principles and standards seem to be far-fetched as of today. Moreover, the recently published article entitled Legally Bound: Advancing Competencies of Academic Law Librarians in the Philippines presented a fact that legal research is among the competencies that academic law librarians rated themselves low, specifically on the competency of demonstrating knowledge of the legal system and the legal profession, and on understanding the social, political, economic, and technological context in which the legal system exists. So, to start facing this legal research challenge, the Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated stepped up and planned to offer this topic for the third installment of our 5-part webinar series. And to take into consideration those newly assigned and newly hired academic law librarians, we planned for a topic that would lay down the foundations of legal research among us with the following desired learning outcomes. First, identifying, describing, and using basic legal terminologies that will help us in assisting law students in their research needs. Second, classifying resources, that is the primary and secondary sources. And third, recognizing and applying the skills needed to provide better legal research assistance. So, and because we were able to get Regalo Touching Lives advanced webinar platform, we decided to extend the invitation to non-academic law librarians to plant the knowledge of legal research across all types of librarianship. Who knows, you will be intrigued and interested enough to shift gears and change your career path to law librarianship, particularly to academic law librarianship, right? So let me end this message by welcoming you all in this webinar. I hope we learn a lot from our very competent resource speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. William. So few reminders, you can use our chat box or the Q&A portion of our webinar jam to post your questions. We will have a forum right after the presentation of our resource speaker. Evaluation link will be posted at the end of our program. Please make sure to answer it to receive a certificate. The evaluation link will be available for 7 days and expect your e-certificates for the following week. If you are experiencing lags or delays, please refresh your browser. So we will now proceed to our program. Okay. So our speaker this afternoon is a graduate of the University of the Philippines, where she obtained her undergraduate and law degrees. Upon completing her law studies, she joined government service as an executive assistant in the Philippine Tourism Authority. In 1994, she was part of the group that founded CD Technologies Asia Incorporated, or CD Asia. She has held several positions in the company, including in charge of marketing of LexisNexis in 1996 to 1998, and head of the customer service department, which is responsible for after-sales services and client training on the use of company's products. She was part of the training team for Project Dial, development of the Internet for Asian Law, which conducted training sessions in China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Laos, Pakistan, Philippines, and Mongolia. She was also a lecturer and member of the team for the training of the judiciary personnel in the use of CD Asia's titles in over 2,000 courts in the Philippines. She is a guest lecturer in law schools on the topic of legal research and currently teaches at the UP College of Law. An accredited MCLE lecturer, she has delivered training lectures for private and government lawyers on the topic of electronic legal research. She is a faculty member of the Legal Research and Methodology Department of the Philippine Judicial Academy's Academic Council. Presently, Vice President of CD Asia. Please welcome Attorney Maria Teresa G. Libunao.
Maraming salamat, B-Boy. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Is my audio clear?
Yes, attorney.
Yes.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. It's always a pleasure to speak before law librarians or academic librarians. Librarianship is very close to my heart. For this afternoon, we will discuss the topic on why we do legal research. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, attorney.
Okay, I will screen share. Okay, now can you see my screen? Okay. At any time that the challenge of working with technology is that you have to deal with the unknowns. At any time that the screen hangs or that I hang during my lecture, just let me know by an audio call. Okay. So our topic is legal research. Now, what exactly is legal research? Okay. It's simply the process of identifying and retrieving information necessary to support legal decision-making. I'm sure a lot of you have done research in one form or the other. In legal research, it's the same process, looking for information, but what you are looking for would be legal or law-related information. So it is a process that starts first with an analysis of the facts of the problem and concludes with application and communication of the results of the process of research. Now, for law librarians, academic librarians for that matter, sometimes a student or a client will approach you and they already know what they're looking for. So that's the easy part. No? When they already tell you, can you look first for a particular Republic Act? Can you please look for a particular, say, court decision? But there is a quandary when that particular student or client approaches you with a particular topic and they themselves do not know how to start the process. So let's go first to the fundamentals. In our country, there are three branches of government. Okay? So you have the legislative branch, composed of the two houses of Congress, and the legislative branch is in charge of creating the law. Next, you have the executive branch, which is responsible for implementing the law. Okay? And then you have the judicial branch, which is in charge of interpreting the law. Now, why did I start with the three branches of government? It's simply because these three branches are responsible for producing issuances that are considered as sources of law here in the country. So they are actually the ones responsible for producing the sources of the citizens' rights and obligations. Now, let us look at the legislative department. The functions and the composition of the legislative department is found in Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution. So, from the very beginning, the 1900s, you have acts. There are 4,275 in all. You have Commonwealth Acts during the Commonwealth period. There are 733 of this. We have Republic Acts, which as of October 2020 is at 11,994 already. The latest Republic Act is entitled the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, which was promulgated last September 11, 2020. And then, during the period of martial law, the bicameral Congress was changed to a unicameral body, which is known as the Batasang Pambansa. This is a very familiar landmark for Quezon City residents. It's located in the Constitution Hills, no? And from the Batasang Pambansa, we have mga Batas Pambansa, and they are 884 in total. So if you tally all of this, you will see that more or less, you would have around less than 20,000 pieces of issuances from the legislative department. Now you might ask, Mayos, do we need to go back all the way to the 1900s or even say the 1920s and consider acts in our research? Yes, and I will explain why later on. So these are the terminologies that you have to be familiar with when you're talking about legislative issuances. From the executive department, Article 7, 1987 Constitution provides for its functions and composition. You have all of these issuances. So during the time of President Marcos, during the martial law period primarily, he issued presidential decrees. You must know that it is only President Marcos who issued PDs. Okay? So it's a very unique issuance during his term. Then you also have executive orders, and executive orders provides for rules of a general or permanent character in the implementation or execution of constitutional or statutory powers. Simply put, executive orders are used to implement the provisions of the legislative issuances. So, if you'll notice sometimes in the legislative issuances like the Republic Acts, the provisions are too broad. So you might ask, paano ba ito i-implement? So that is the function of executive orders coming from the executive department. Also, you have administrative orders from the office of the president proper. Then you have presidential proclamations. Presidential proclamations, these are those that establishes holidays or very special acts. Then you have memorandum orders and memorandum circulars. Okay. What is important to note here that all of these are renumbered chronologically at the start of the term of the president. So, if President Duterte is our 16th president, then by all means, by all counts, we should have 16 executive orders number 1, assuming that all prior presidents issued an executive order number 1. So it's renumbered at the start of every presidential term. Okay. Now, another aspect of the office of the president would be the administrative agencies, which we will find in the departments and bureaus. So, each department and each bureau would issue or can issue a circular, an order, or a rule. But what is important to remember here is that these are renumbered starting from number 1 every calendar year. Kaya marami po ito kasi every year. We are now in the year 2020. So, balik ulit sa 1 at the start of the new calendar year. For example, the Bureau of Internal Revenue issues out circulars. So meron tayong BIR Circular number 1-1998 at meron din tayong BIR Circular 1-2020. So what is important to note here? It is important for you to know the year wherein that particular circular or order or rule was issued. Okay. For the judicial department, there are 2 kinds of issuances that they have. First, for the administration of the courts and the practice of law. So you have the rules of court, you have the administrative orders, the circulars, the memorandum circulars, the office orders, resolutions, and internal rules. So all of these are issued out by the Philippine Supreme Court. So para maayos yung the administration of the courts as well as the practice of law. Another issuance from the judicial department are the decisions. So you have decisions from the regular courts of justice, like the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and the lower courts, and also have decisions from the special courts, like the Court of Tax Appeals and the Sandigan Bayan. There are also various decisions from administrative tribunals, those agencies which perform quasi-judicial functions. Then you have rulings of boards and commissions, as well as rulings of the legal officers of government, like the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel. Now, in all of this listing, what do you consider as the final authority when you're doing your research? The final authority that is considered are decisions of the Supreme Court. Kaya po minsan yung mga nagre-research na estudyante or even lawyers, they always look for the latest Supreme Court material on the particular topic that they're doing research on. Now, so those are the different issuances from the three branches of government. Now, you must remember, okay, so why are you doing research? Why do people do legal research? Okay, first, people do legal research because they have to know the law on a specific matter. According to Article 3 of the Civil Code, ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. So meaning to say that you have to know the law on a specific matter, especially when you're claiming rights and obligations. Second, the purpose of research is to find authority that will aid in finding a solution to a legal problem. Meaning to say, when you're doing research, you cannot simply say, pag tinanong ka, why did you use that particular argument or why did you use that particular issuance? You cannot simply say, wala lang, gusto ko lang siyang gamitin. Hindi po pwede yun. So you always have to find authorities. Okay? Now, before you start the entire process, okay, especially when you're serving your clients, law students, lawyers, or even just ordinary people, you have to ascertain with them, especially if they do not know the exact law that they're looking for, these basic questions, no, there are 5 of them. So you ask them, what topic? Okay. When did it happen? Because as you can see from the previous slides, there are periods of legislative history where the answer to the question when is very important. Okay. Who are the parties involved? Because, for example, if there are special parties like it is an employee or an employer that's involved in the problem, then you have to go to that specific aspect of law, which is known as labor law. You will look for labor law materials. Okay. Also, where it happened, because it might happen outside of a particular jurisdiction. So all of these answers will help you determine the legal issue or the topic, and then you can already help your client look for the law involved, or even yourselves. When you're asked to do research, you can already now know where to start the process. So in all of this, in all of those issuances, madami-dami po yan, ano? The legislative acts alone, there are less than 20,000 of them. And then we have issuances from the executive and issuances from the judiciary. So what do you actually consider as you begin your research? Ito na po yung sinasabi natin na authorities. Sina Ma'am Ian and sina B-Boy mentioned this earlier. There are 2 kinds of authorities in our jurisdiction under which particular issuance may be classified under. First, we have mandatory authorities. This must always be used first. Who are these, or what are these mandatory authorities? First, we have, from the legislature, we have the acts, the Commonwealth Acts, the Republic Acts, mga batas pambansa, and presidential decrees. Deprena tayo sandali. Mayos, isn't that the presidential decree coming from the executive? Why is it included under the legislature now? Okay. Point of legislative history. During the martial law period, then President Marcos abrogated unto himself the function of both the executive and the legislative. Hence, he issued out presidential decrees. So it's considered as a legislative act of the executive. From the judiciary, you have Supreme Court issuances and decisions. Under Article 8 of the Civil Code, states that judicial decisions applying or interpreting the laws of the Constitution shall form part of the legal system of the land. So, Supreme Court is the final authority, the final arbiter of any legal question. Kasi nga sabi natin kanina, it is the one that interprets the legal controversies. And from the executive, then you have the presidential and the administrative issuances. So all of these are mandatory authorities. Now, again, you must remember that mandatory authorities must be followed and must be cited first, okay? Because they are the primary source of rights and obligations. The next type of authority would be persuasive authorities. It is considered when there is no mandatory authority on a subject matter. Examples of these are laws and decisions of other jurisdictions. An example, United States case law. So for example, you're looking for a mandatory authority, pero wala ka talagang makita. You can now go and look for persuasive authorities. Another example would be opinions of government agencies, like opinions of the BIR or opinions of the Department of Justice. But yet, because of the principle that executive interpretation of legislative enactments is accorded weight by the judiciary. Okay? So this may be cited and may be followed in the absence of mandatory authorities. Okay. Now, bakit yung opinions of government agencies persuasive lang, hindi siya mandatory? Kasi nga it's just an opinion of that particular agency which has a jurisdiction over the controversy. I want to show you this screenshot from our compilation. This is from the taxation title of CD Asia. You will notice here that this particular ruling or opinion is addressed solely to CD Technologies Asia Incorporated. However, kaya siya persuasive kasi if your topic or your legal problem has the same facts, or if you think the person asking your help in doing research is similarly situated, then you can cite the ruling or the opinion of the agency in your research. Yeah? So here we were asking for VAT exemption, and if you think your topic merits the same consideration as the agency, then you can cite this particular opinion in your research. Persuasive. You're just trying to persuade the reader of your research to your line of argumentation. Okay, can I pause for a while?
Okay, attorney.
Hello, everyone. If you are experiencing problems, please refresh your browser to continue viewing our webinar. Okay. Some of you are telling us that you have a problem with your connection, that the video is not functioning well. So please refresh your browser. So if you have questions, please type in it at our chat box or in our question and answer portion here. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. I will resume.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry po, akala ko emergency call eh. Okay. So let's resume, no? Done with persuasive authorities. Now let's look at secondary authorities. Sino naman itong mga to? The secondary authorities. Okay. As you can see on the screen, these are commentaries on the law that do not have binding effect, but they explain what the law is all about. Examples of these are the textbooks, articles in journals. For example, I'm sure you're very familiar with these, in the law school libraries, yung mga textbooks ni Tolentino, ni Father Bernas on constitutional law. Then you have for labor law, you have Professor Azucena. So these are what you call secondary authorities. More often than not, as these are the materials assigned to students, this is their first encounter with the law. Okay? And dito nila makikita, ano ba yung applicable law, say for example, to marriage? What is the applicable law for criminal acts? So, all of these textbooks, commentaries are secondary authorities. Okay? They do not have binding effect again, but they are only aids in explaining what the law is all about. Okay. Now that you know the classification of the law, so you have primary, and primary authorities are further subdivided into mandatory and persuasive. And then you have secondary authorities. Our next question is, where do we get copies of these laws? Okay. We have two classifications for sources of law, as in the physical source of the law. So you have primary sources and you have secondary sources. What are the primary sources? Primary sources, as defined, would be the issuances of the agencies responsible for promulgating or enacting these laws. So one of the primary sources, for example, for the legislative act would be the slip laws, congressional records. Yung kulay puti po na nisa makihingi natin sa record section. Those are called slip laws. No? We can get them from the record section of either the Senate or the House. Then official gazette. Because according to Article 2 of the Civil Code, laws will take effect only after they're published in the official gazette or in a newspaper of general circulation. Okay? And then you have the National Administrative Register. By virtue of the 1987 Administrative Code, administrative issuances must be filed with the National Administrative Register. For Supreme Court decisions, we have Philippine reports or the advance sheets. I don't know if they're still issuing out advance sheets, but this used to be the white paper that they give with the decision printed thereon. And then we have official websites. Now, there is a debate now whether official websites may be considered as primary sources. Unlike in the Americas and in Europe, where they have a very specific policy that official websites are primary sources, here in the Philippines, there is no such pronouncement. But, however, especially when the agency is already cutting down on sending out actual print material, they always tell the researcher to refer to their official website. So, official websites, if it is the website of the agency itself, may be considered as a primary source. Then all the others are secondary sources. Okay? Like, for example, Supreme Court reports annotated or SCRA. I'm sure you have copies in your library. That is considered as a secondary source. Okay? Or if you have CDH online products, that is also considered as a secondary source. Secondary sources are the publications of private companies which contain the law itself. So if it's not from the official agency which implements or enacts the law, then it is a secondary source. Okay? So those are the ones listed on your screen. That is where you get copies of the law. So now you now know the classification of the law. You now know where to get copies of the law. How do you use the law? Okay. When does the law actually take effect? As I mentioned earlier, according to Article 2 of the Civil Code, laws take effect after 15 days following the completion of their publication, either in the official gazette or in a newspaper of general circulation in the Philippines, unless it is otherwise provided. Okay, now, what does the phrase "unless it is otherwise provided" mean? In several Supreme Court decisions, including the decision of the Philippine Supreme Court in the case of Taneda versus Tavera, they interpreted that last phrase as meaning the effect may be shortened. Kasi ang general provision is after 15 days following the completion of their publication in the official gazette. However, the law can itself provide that the law can take effect within 5 days or within 10 days after the completion of its publication. It does not mean that publication can be done without. No, the law must still be published before it can take effect. It is only the effectivity period, the 15-day effectivity period, that can be shortened by an act of the legislature or by an act of the executive. So the next question is, do all issuances need publication? Okay. What needs to be published? First, all legislative acts. Okay. Second, the rules of general applicability, whether coming from the executive or the judiciary. Okay. So all legislative acts and all rules of general applicability that implements or interprets a law, fixes or describes the procedure in or the practice requirements of an agency, including its regulations. Now, what does this mean in very layman's terms? If that particular act has an effect on the public, then it must be published. The public at large. Now, what does not need to be published? So you have the internal memoranda or statements concerning the internal administration or management of an agency. Halimbawa, gusto lang magpa-implement ng Sandigan Bayan or ng Supreme Court na every Friday is a casual day, casual dress code, then that need not be published. Okay? Or halimbawa, meron sa Office of the Ombudsman, gusto lang nila magpa-seminar on new skills during the pandemic, then that need not be published. Okay? So only acts that will have an effect on the general public at large needs to be published. I just like your questions in the chat box at mamaya babalikan natin siya. Okay, to continue, I'd like to tell you the story of Hello Garci. I'm sure many of you remember this, but just briefly, no? During the presidential election, the ISAF, our intelligence agency, intercepted the call between then President Arroyo and former Commissioner Virgiliano Garciano. Okay? And they created a recording of this conversation, which take place on a CD-ROM. And as you can see on the screen, it is being held up by the former Secretary Ignacio Buni. This is known as the Hello Garci scandal or the Gloria Gate. Allegedly in the conversation, then President Arroyo was asking Commissioner Garciliano to ensure her victory in Mindanao. Para sabi nga niya, make it 12-0 in favor of the administration candidates. And allegedly, Garciliano said, yes, ma'am. Okay. Cut the long story short, because our Senate learned of this, they invited Garciliano over for investigation in aid of legislation. No, sabi na, Sir Garciliano, can you please come over? To which Garciliano refused, on the grounds that the Senate, the newly elected Senate, had not yet published its internal rules of procedure. Yan, sabi din na, internal rules of procedure. Okay? So sabi ng Senate, our rules of procedure has not changed. Second, our rules of procedure are already published in the official website of the Senate. Since Garciliano continued to refuse to appear before the Senate Investigation Committee, their problem or their controversy reached all the way to the Supreme Court, to which Supreme Court ruled, saying that the Senate should have published its internal rules of procedure because it is of a public nature, number one. Number two, even if they say that they have not changed their rules of procedure, since it's an incoming Senate, a new body, they have to republish their rules of procedure. And third, more importantly, as you can see, I highlighted it in red in the screen. It said that the internet is not yet a medium for publishing laws, rules, and regulations. Okay? So, yung pag-publish daw nila sa official website of the Senate is not considered a publication of their rules of procedure. It did not satisfy the publication requirement of Article 2. This decision came out in 2008. Since then, you have a lot of newspapers already going online, especially during this pandemic. Most everything is online already. In fact, Inquirer went online as early as October 27, 1997. Okay? Government agencies are also uploading their issuances to the online platform. Now, it raised this question now. Is the case laid down in Garciliano still valid? Tatanungin nyo, valid pa ba siya? Nakita ko lang siya online eh. So did it satisfy the publication requirement kaya? Okay. So in the absence of any other Supreme Court decision stating otherwise, we still have to abide by the ruling in Garciliano that publication on the internet does not yet satisfy the publication requirement of Article 2 of the Civil Code. So kailangan pa rin kayo mag-publish through the traditional way. So, what is my tip sa inyo? If you see something online and you are not sure whether or not it has been published, just call the Office of the Official Gazette. No? It's very simple. Or you can also call the Records Department of the House of Representatives and ask them, was this ever published according to the traditional way of publication? Right? Okay. Some compilations, like our compilation, CDH Online, we put the fact of publication already as an assistance for our researchers. So makikita nyo at the bottom of the issuance when and where the particular issuance was published. Like for this particular issuance, it was published in the Official Gazette, the volume number, the page number, and the date of publication. Okay. Now, hanggang kailan may bisa ang batas? Or in English, what is the lifespan of a law? Remember I told you earlier, do you need to consider the acts? Those that were passed in the 1900s? Yes, because according to Article 7 of the Civil Code, laws are repealed only by subsequent ones, and their violation or non-observance shall not be excused by disuse or custom or practice to the contrary. So, even if it's an old law, if there is no repealing law, okay, which was passed after it, then it is still valid. Examples of old laws that are still in effect. First, you have the Public Service Law, which governs our transportation, our public transportation, like the buses, the jeepneys, and all of that. Okay, that was passed as a Commonwealth Act. Another one is the Revised Penal Code. The Revised Penal Code is an act. It's Act 3815. Which brings me to the story of the late Carlos Salgan. Carlos Salgan has passed away already. But when he was alive and he was residing in Manila, he used to conduct walking tours around the Intramuros area. One day, at the height of the debate on the reproductive health bill, okay, he went inside the Manila Cathedral where the clergy was gathered for a seminar. And he was dressed like Jose Rizal, complete with the Homburg hat, and he carried one placard with the word Damaso. Now, if you know your Philippine literature, you know that Father Damaso is a character in Dolomit Angele. And he was the embodiment of everything that was wrong with the clergy during the Spanish period. So when he went around, the clergy did not mind him much, but when he went up to the altar and started causing a commotion, he started shouting, the guards of the cathedral were called and they brought Carlos to the precinct. So dumating yung lawyer ni Carlos, dumating yung lawyer ng clergy. Sabi ng lawyer ni Carlos, what law did he violate? He was just exercising his right to free speech, right? So that is a right enshrined in the Constitution. However, the lawyer of the clergy said he actually violated a specific law, and that is the provision of the Revised Penal Code passed or promulgated in 1932. Okay? Article 133, which states that if you make a commotion or if you do an act which is offensive to the feelings of the faithful in a place devoted to religious worship or during the celebration of any religious ceremony, you can actually be imprisoned, okay, from a minimum of 4 months to 2 years and 4 months. The lawyer of Carlos countered that, but that law is already outdated or obsolete. Okay, so no, it was passed in 1932, as you can see on the captured screen. No? But of course, the lawyer of the clergy said, wait a minute, has it been repealed? Not yet. Has it been amended? Not even. Okay? So despite the fact that it was a provision passed in 1932, it's still in effect in the absence of any repealing or amending provision. And that is the reason why I want you to always consider old laws when you're doing complete research, because the specific law that the researcher or you yourselves are looking for might be found as an old law in past legislative periods. So ano po nangyari kay Carlos? He was actually put in jail for that violation. Another story. From Cotabato City to Coronadal City, as you can see on the map, is a very long way. Now, on March 30, 2004, Executive Order number 304 was passed by then President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, designating Coronadal City as the regional center and seat of Soc-Sargent region. Okay? So meaning to say, from where they were at, they were going to transfer everybody to Coronadal City. Okay? From Cotabato City to Coronadal City. Okay. Now, the workers of that regional center of the Department of Agriculture said, pwede ba kaming hindi lumipat? Because Coronadal City is not equipped to be the regional center, first. Second, for their livelihoods, their families are already settled in Coronadal City. Their children go to school in Coronadal City. So they asked this question during one of the appearances of Secretary Arthur Yap in the regional center. And per their allegation, they said that per Secretary Yap, per the President, through Secretary Arthur Yap, the President allegedly said, do not implement anymore Executive Order 304. Pabayaan niyo na yung batas na yan. Wala nang visa yan. Verbally saying that in effect, I am the President then, rescinding or putting a stop to the implementation of Executive Order number 304. So the workers were very happy because they don't need to transfer anymore. But what happened? Their managers, the heads of the different offices of the regional center, already transferred to Coronadal City. Okay, so what happened? Kagulo-gulo sila, no? To the point that it reached the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, the case of the Republic of the Philippines versus Byron, said that verbal pronouncement to the effect that EO number 304 is suspended should not be given weight because an executive order once passed is valid and remains valid when it is not contrary to the law or constitution. Okay? So valid siya. The verbal pronouncement is not the effective act to stop its validity and its implementation. There should be another act, a written act or document that is needed to stop its implementation and its effectivity. I give you an example in recent time. Last March 8, 2019, Republic Act number 11235 was passed. Okay? And this is known as the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act. Kasi diba dami daw crimes which are committed through the use of a motorcycle or which are caused by motorcycles. So they passed the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act. Because of the punitive penalties contained in this act, tumaas yung penalty for violations, tumaas yung there are additional requirements before you can register your motorcycle. The Motorcycle Riders Association of the Philippines, riders and drivers, reacted negatively. Sabi nila, pwede ba siyang wag implement because it's really burdensome on them. So, President Duterte, when he spoke before the Motorcycle Club of the Philippines, said in April 7, 2019, that the law will be suspended as the fines are prohibitive and the requirement for larger license plates front and back is unsafe. Okay? So he said, 1 month pa lang itong nakaka-effect yung law. sinasabi na niya na suspended, he said it verbally, suspended ang implementation of the new law on motorcycle plates. Okay. Tapos na sana, no? Wala na sana magre-react. However, the main author of the law, Senator Richard Gordon, reacted. Sabi na the motorcycle law cannot be suspended anymore because the president himself signed it into law. Okay? So, the verbal pronouncement of the president cannot be given effect, no? So the law is still valid because it has already been promulgated, published, and signed into law. So the question now remains, sino susundin natin? Diba? Kasi merong verbal pronouncement is president at meron din tayong an act, a Republic Act, which has already been effected into law. So in that particular case, mangingibabaw the written and effected Republic Act. So it can now be implemented. But when we last checked with the Land Transportation Office, they said that they are not putting the penalties in force yet because of that particular limbo between the good senator and the president. Okay? So, ganyan na. Basta always remember, verbal pronouncements must always be taken with a grain of salt. Look for the effected written repealing act or amending act to the law. So, how are laws applied? Okay. Laws shall have no retroactive effect unless the contrary is provided. And retroactive effect is usually the case for criminal laws, especially if a particular act which was punished as a crime before has been depenalized, no? Hindi na siya crime. A very classic example of this, if I remember it correctly, is the provision of the revised penal code on vagrancy and prostitution. Decriminalize na po siya. Okay? Now let us look at this particular case of Maria Reza. May 29, 2012, Rappler published an article which put Mr. Wilfredo Keng in a bad light. No? Let's put it as an understatement. No? So they published an article May 29, 2012. So nagkaroon ng investigation. Okay? And the law, which was published in the Philippine Star, a newspaper of general circulation, took effect on October 3, 2012. Okay. So, from the time it was published, there was a gap of several months before the law actually took effect. However, in January 2019, Mr. Keng refiled the investigation. The NBI and the authorities took cognizance of the complaint, and they're grounding their basis on the law. Actually, it's the Cybercrime Prevention Act, which was published and took effect after the fact of publication. So, I do not know how to explain this, but the general rule is law shall have no retroactive effect. So if there was no law at the time of the commission of the act, and that is the reason why I said the when factor in research is very important, then you cannot penalize, you cannot give rights or obligations to a particular person. Okay, so be very mindful of when the act was committed and when the law actually took effect. Because as the provision states, laws cannot be given retroactive effect, okay, unless it is, unless it is otherwise provided, and more often than not, as I said, it is for criminal laws. So, another thing to consider is the principle of the hierarchy of laws. The overarching statute or law that governs all of our laws is the Philippine Constitution. The Philippine Constitution, as you know, is the fundamental law of the land. So anything violative of the provisions of the Constitution must be declared as unconstitutional. Now, after the Philippine Constitution, you have the national laws and international agreements. As you can see on the screen, the provisions of these national laws and international agreements must conform to the provisions of the Philippine Constitutions. They must not go beyond the provisions of the Philippine Constitution. Okay? And then you have, inside the circle of the national laws, you have the issuances to implement the national laws, coming mainly from the executive department. So you have the executive orders, the administrative orders, and the like. And the provisions of these EOs and the provisions of these AOs or what have you should not go beyond, okay, what is provided in the national laws that they're actually trying to implement. And in the innermost circle are the local ordinances. These local ordinances are applied only for a specific area. So you have municipal ordinances, you have city ordinances, and again, this must not go beyond the circle of the implementing national laws. Because more often than not, the ordinances are passed by the local legislature, like the mayor or the sanggunian, simply to implement further, to provide further guidelines for the implementation of the national laws. So yan, may hierarchy po tayo, ha? So for example, what will happen, for example, if the implementing law, the executive order goes beyond the provisions of the national law, then you can question its effectivity or validity at the Philippine Supreme Court. Okay? So when you're doing research, what is important to know is whether or not a particular law, particular issuance has been declared as unconstitutional or provisions thereof declared unconstitutional by the Philippine Supreme Court. Because remember, it is the Philippine Supreme Court that interprets the controversies relating to the law. So, what is your legal research universe? What is your legal research universe? To have comprehensive legal research, you must go to, first, as I said, more often than not, your first encounter would be the commentaries or the secondary authorities, the books. So law reviews, journals, etc. And then you consider the statutes, the codes, the rules and regulations. If you're looking for the intent of the law, okay, then you go to the records of Congress, which will contain the congressional debates on that particular law. If you do not know the meaning of the topic or the specific, say, provisions of the law, then you may consult an encyclopedia or a dictionary. And if the law has a judicial controversy attached to it, then you can consider cases and jurisprudence. But to say that your research, your legal research is comprehensive, then you have to consider all of these sources. Okay? That ends the first part of my presentation. I would now like to ask from the group whether or not you want me to proceed to a presentation on electronic resources. Or are you already very familiar with electronic resources for legal research?
Okay lang po, attorney.
So I will continue with electronic
Yes,
resources.
yes,
Meron po tayong
yes, please.
okay lang po.
Okay, sige, sandali lang ha. I will just open my electronic resources material. Baka gusto niyo muna mag-bio break kahit pa tayo webinar, meron pa naman bio break.
Pwede po, bio break daw, MC.
MC, bio break?
Yes, yes.
Sige, let's.
I think we can have 5 minutes.
Ang bilis mo naman, B-Boy. Kahit 10 minutes, okay lang.
Okay. While waiting po, no, during our break, may ipapanood lang po kaming video. If we can share na po the video of NALL, Sir Kaloy.
Sige. While people are on bio break.
Thank you. Okay.
Just by way of feedback, B-Boy, was the screen sharing okay?
Wala pa po ngayon.
No, earlier.
Okay naman po, ma'am.
Okay.
Medyo nagkakaroon lang po siguro ng problem sa mga participants sa connection po nila.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the audio was clear enough?
Yes, bro.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for our participants po, you can use our chat box to ask your questions. Right after the presentation of Prof. Mios, we will have a forum to answer your questions. Are you ready, Prof, for the next?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I will just. Can you see my screen?
Yes, attorney.
Okay. So is it moving?
Yes, attorney.
Right. Thank you. Sige. Let us start now on second part of the lecture, which is actually, I think, more familiar with you as it covers electronic legal research, especially during this time of pandemic, when everything shifted, most everything shifted online. How do you begin an online electronic research process? First, you have to be armed with your search parameters. Okay? So, ano ba itong search parameters na to? The type of law or the topic of law that you're researching on. And then you open your browser, like what I did, no? I'm in my Firefox browser. And my chosen search engine is Google Search. It's very popular, Google Search. So I want to look for the phrase legal research. Now we'll hit enter. It tells me that my phrase in 0.45 seconds, I found over 2 billion hits. Okay? As you do not want to go through that many search results, you might want to narrow the number down. No? So there's a way to filter the search results. First, in Google, click on Settings, and a small pop-up window will appear. And in that pop-up window, you can click on or select Advanced Search. So Advanced Search will open this template for advanced searching. So you can look for pages, or meaning to say websites, with either all of these words, this exact word or phrase, etc. For my particular purpose, I chose exact word or phrase, the phrase legal research. And then the second part, you can narrow your results by language, or even by just selecting the site or domain type that you want to do your research on. For example, me, I limited it to Philippine government sites. So I included .gov.ph. This is the identifier for Philippine government sites. No? Pag yung extension niya sa URL is .gov.ph, means that it's a Philippine government site. And then click on the button for advanced search. So you'll notice that from over 2 billion search hits, I was able to limit it down to 6,000 plus, which I think is more manageable. As you can see on the screen from the search results, these are mostly government sites, like from the CDA, from the DepEd, from Intellectual Property Office, IPOFIL, and all of that. So that is one technique that you can use when you're doing your research in filtering it. Now, in some instances, your search results might include a reference to a Wikipedia article. Okay? I know that this is very popular, and more often than not, your search hits will contain a reference to a Wikipedia article. So, what is Wikipedia anyway? By its own definition, it is a free encyclopedia that anyone can edit. Okay? And because of this, Wikipedia is not a reliable research source. Even Wikipedia acknowledges it. It says that it is not a reliable source. But can we still use Wikipedia? I would say yes, okay? But with a caveat. you use Wikipedia as a finding tool, no? Meaning to say, while you cannot cite, or we should not cite the Wikipedia article directly in your research work, it can still be used as a finding tool that can lead you to more reliable sources. Okay. For example, let's look for the topic Miranda rights. Sino ba itong si Miranda? Okay. Miranda rights would be, you remember if you watch police procedural shows, yung have the right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, that is the Miranda warning. No? And as you can see on this page of the Miranda warning, there are embedded or linked references in blue-colored font. If you go to the bottom of the article, you will see also endnotes with the same linked references. So what you can do is you can open a linked reference, for example, endnote number 18, what are Miranda rights, and you click on that. It will lead you now directly to the article which was cited in the Wikipedia article. Okay? And it is this article that we're seeing on the screen right now from Live Science that you should cite in the research. No? Sabihin nyo doon sa mga estudyante or even your clients, you should cite directly the original article. So can you use Wikipedia? Yes, but only make use of it is a finding tool. Do not cite directly from Wikipedia. Now, in our jurisdiction, there are what we call free access sites, and I'm sure some of this you have already encountered when you're doing your online research. So first we have government sites. Okay. So again, the ending of the government sites is the identifier .gov.ph. Okay. So you have the Official Gazette Online. You have the Senate of the Philippines, the House of Representatives, and also websites from departments or bureaus of government, like, for example, the Interior of and Local Government and the Commission on Audit. Now, yung for the bureaus and agencies, it's easy enough kasi they just make use of their acronym. Like for the Department of Interior and Local Government, you have dilg.gov.ph. So just make use of the acronym in looking for the URL or the official website of these agencies. Let's look at Official Gazette Online. Okay. Now, you will see here that it has Republic Acts, Executive Orders, and the like. And the last Republic Act uploaded is Republic Act 11494. To read that, just click on that link of Republic Act, and you will see here the title of the act and the date it was signed by the President, September 11, 2020. Now, if you want to read the act in full, you can click on the link to the PDF version of it. Okay, this is the PDF. Now, you can also do searching on Official Gazette Online. So let's look for the word terrorism, and let's hit on the search key, and it will tell us that the pertinent Republic Act is Republic Act number 11479, using a word search for terrorism. Let's open. It's also in PDF. Now, for those who are not yet aware of it, PDF means portable data format. It is the type of format that is the default when documents are scanned. No? It allows for massive storage. Okay? So that is why it's very popular in storing or uploading information. However, since it is a flat file or a picture file, the text contained in the document is not searchable. For instance, let us find the word terrorism in the document through a simple control find or Control F. So let's look for terrorism. And when you click on the enter button to search, it will tell us that the phrase is not found, despite the fact that the word terrorism is just there. Okay, so what is my search tip to you? You can, instead of looking for words in the body of the document, you can make use of the portion of the file which was converted into searchable text. Like what I did earlier, I used the title of the law which was converted into searchable text, and I thought of words or phrases that might appear therein as my search parameter. So even if terrorism in the body of the document is not searchable, but because terrorism appeared in the converted text in the title, you're able to look for this particular law. Now, let us look at the Supreme Court website. So for the latest Supreme Court decisions, let us go to latest Supreme Court jurisprudence by clicking on the Enter key. And as you can see, the last one was uploaded September 16, 2020. However, it is also in PDF. Okay. Now, the past decisions of the Supreme Court are already converted into searchable text, and it's contained in Supreme Court e-library. You just have to register to enter the library. I wanted to show you how to register, but yesterday, when I was doing my presentation, ito po yung lumabas sa screen. Okay? So my tip to you is, if lumabas itong security risk notice, do not proceed. Okay? Just go back and look for other possible sources of the issuance that you're looking for. Okay? So, di ko na po patuloy yan. Another official website, the Senate of the Philippines at senate.gov.ph. So this is how it looks like with the Senate President. And the Republic Acts or the laws are classified under legislative documents. So when you click on it, you'll see Republic Acts. And what is noticeable here is that they have not yet uploaded the latest issuances. So, ang meron lang PDF copy would be Republic Act 11468. When you click open, you have in PDF. Excuse me, I'll just look at this text message kasi baka it's to organizers. Okay. All right. Now, after the Senate, let's look now at private free sites, no? Private free sites like Chan Robles. Because some of you have already encountered the website of Chan Robles, which is uploaded and maintained by the Chan Robles law firm, and the Lawful Project, which is uploaded and maintained by the Arellano Law Foundation. So this is the Chan Robles website as of yesterday, October 21st, 2020. So to open the resources, let's click on the Virtual Law Library. And let's click on Jurisprudence. Take a look at Supreme Court decisions. The Supreme Court decisions are arranged in chronological order. So from 1901 down to 2020. When you click open the 2020 link, it will tell us that there are January 2020 decisions. And when you open that further, it will tell us that these are the decisions uploaded for January 2020. Now, what is the problem with this particular site? It is not that updated. No, it's already October 2020. And as seen from the Supreme Court website, there are already decisions as uploaded and promulgated September 16, 2020. Okay? So, bakit tayo worry of websites that are not updated? Because sometimes there might be a new law or there might be a new decision which is pertinent to your research, okay? And you're looking at old decisions or old laws na baka na-repeal na or na-overturn na. Okay? So it's important that the website you're consulting is updated. As you can see from the screen, I purposely put the date, Wednesday, October 21, in the bottom right portion, just to see you that it was as fresh as yesterday when I captured the screen. For laws, statutes, and codes, this is where the Republic Acts or the legislative issuances are classified. That's Open Republic Acts. It has Republic Act 1 to 100. And at the bottom, you will see that it has a range of 11,301 to 1,400. When you click on that, the latest Republic Act that they have uploaded is 11327, which was promulgated last April 17, 2019. Okay, we are now in the year 2020. So, as seen, the website is not current or updated. Okay. A quick check with another website tells us that the latest Republic Act is 11494, the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, passed September 11, 2020. Now, in China Robles, it does have a search engine. It makes use of the Google custom search. Now, let's look for the words Facebook and pictures. Let's click on search. Okay, so this is your search results. What you'll notice in the search results are links to external sites outside of the Chan Robles website. That you have here pictures of photo, 2019 best Facebook covers, etc. Okay? The reason for this is because the Chan Robles website makes use of the Google General Search Engine, which when used will bring back match results from external sites. Also, not only those found in Chan Robles. Kaya minsan ang dami-dami mong search hits na hindi mo naman kailangan. So just take notice of that because you might be wasting time filtering your search results for those external sites that you don't actually need. Another private site is Lawfield, the Lawfield project site. Okay, and if you click on jurisprudence, it does have compilation of Philippine jurisprudence. And upon clicking on 2020, it tells us that it has uploaded decisions as of September. So this is a fairly updated website, no? Okay. However, the decisions are also uploaded in PDF. So again, you know the trick is look for words or phrases that appear in the title because that is the converted text portion of the law. Now, Lawfield is also enhanced by Google. That is the search engine that they use. Let's look for the GR number 39086. And when you click on enter, you will see that there are two search results for the GR number. One is the case of Abra Valley College Incorporated, and the other is the case of People of the Philippine Islands versus Ong Chat Lai. Now, it cannot be the case that two cases will have the same GR number unless it is a motion for reconsideration of the original case. The GR number or the general registry number is the unique number assigned to each case for easier identification. It is a unique identifier and should be different for every case. So the tagging of two cases with the same GR number, but with different case titles, is inaccurate. A quick check with another website shows us that GR number 39086 pertains to People versus Ong, while Arbor Valley College Incorporated should have the GR number L-39086. Now, just as a side story, some cases would have L before it because there was a period after the war, during the liberation, where Supreme Court records destroyed during the bombing of Manila during the war had to be reconstituted or reconciled. So they placed the letter L as an indication that it was a reconstituted or it was a reconstructed record during the liberation. Most cases now, wala na po yung letter L sa GR number. Okay. So going back to your search results, okay, if you are not familiar with the actual GR number, you'll be confused in this erroneous tagging of the GR number. It is very important that you have an accurate, kahit L lang huy na wala, malaki pong bagay yan because it pertains to different cases. So what is my research tip for you? You can cross-check with other websites. No? So if you find something online and you think, bakit ganito, bakit there's a discrepancy, you can cross-check or cross-reference against other websites. For international online legal resources, there are 3 sites. 2 of my favorites are Cornell Legal Information Institute and the World Legal Information Institute. Now for Cornell, from the Cornell Law School, okay, it's hosted from the Cornell Law School. It contains primarily American law. So as you can see here, you have the Constitution, the US Code, the Code of Federal Regulations, ito ibig sabihin ng CFR, that you're seeing on the screen, and even the US Supreme Court decisions. So when you click it open, Supreme Court decisions, so you have here a listing of decisions, and you can click on any of these. Let's click on Trump versus Vance, okay? And how is it arranged? Embedded also in the body of the decision are links to cited references. Okay? So when you click on the reference material, like for example, you want to open Younger versus Harris for 1 US 37, just click on the link and you'll be brought to the full text of Younger versus Harris. Okay. You can also do searching. As can be seen in the upper right-hand corner, there's a search box. And let's look for, again, Miranda versus Arizona. And when you click on enter, then it will give you the citations of Miranda versus Arizona. So Cornell Legal Information Institute is primarily for American law. If you're looking for a good resource for American law, this is one of the websites, more reliable websites. For international law, I always refer people to the World Legal Information Institute. Why? Okay. The World Legal Information Institute does not create new websites or new material. Rather, it is a portal where law-related information from different jurisdictions are linked to this portal by the use of an automated robot, or automated web spider. It brings back all law-related information published online to this particular portal. Okay? And what the portal does is it classifies this law-related material according to categories. So let's open categories. So the material is classified either according to countries, to regions, other indices, or by subject. So when you open countries, it will tell you that this listing of countries somehow produce law-related materials which they publish online. Okay. Now, let's open a country. Let's open Taiwan. So, when you open this, the link to the country, it will tell you that for the country Taiwan, it has materials about its courts and case law, its educational system, its government, and the like. Okay, so you can just select any of these topics to open. Let's go back to categories by clicking on the word categories on the upper portion of the screen. And now let's open the classification by subjects. As you can see, these are the different subjects used by the system to index the law-related information placed on this website. Let us now open freedom of information. For the topic freedom of information, it is further sublinked or subcategorized by country. So that when you click on by country, the system tells us that these 7 countries published or uploaded freedom of information related websites into the internet. Okay, so let's open one country, Australia. And from Australia, let us now click on the Western Australian Information Commissioner. Just click on the link and you'll be brought to the particular website, Freedom of Information for Western Australia. Okay. So click lang muna, click, no? There's no searching yet. But of course, it does have a search box, as you can see, that light blue portion. I'm back at the Taiwan country page, and I want to read up on Taiwanese law. So I want to open introductions to Taiwanese law. So I'll click on that. So here, there is a link to Taiwan Legal Information Institute, and I want to open that. I click on the link, and it'll bring me to this page. It is a broken link. I have no access to it. Okay? It tells me that the page cannot be uploaded or is no longer available. Now, if you really want to read this particular page or this particular website, there is a way that you can try to revive the page. So what do? You go to the URL and place your cursor at the end. And after placing the cursor at the end, you erase up to the first backslash mark. So much so that you're left with the main URL. And when you click on enter, you are able to now revive the page. Okay. So that is one technique to revive broken links or pages that are gone missing or cannot be uploaded. Now, if there are free access sites, there are also subscription sites. For example, Westlaw or LexisNexis. These are American sites which are subscription-based. No? These are, I think some law schools have already subscribed to either or both of these sites. Now in Westlaw, in LexisNexis, it contains what we call the Shepherd Citation Service. Now, what does Shepherd do? It tells us whether a particular issuance, either a law or a decision, has been repealed, amended, modified, and the like. So as you can see from the signals, if it's red, it means that negative treatment, meaning to say, baka na-amend or na-repeal na yung law. Okay? If it's green or positive, it's still valid or good law. So you take the cue from the signals presented. Okay? Unfortunately, this is only applicable for international law materials. Here in the Philippine jurisdiction, we're still finding a way, although we do have some laws that we have shepherdized, but we're still finding a way for the shepherdization of the entire Philippine legal system. A local subscription site is CD Asia Online. Okay? We currently have all of these libraries online already. So, open, you just, of course, input your username and password, which was given to you upon your subscription. And one of the latest libraries we uploaded is the Lexicon of Philippine Legal Terms, which when you open, it's a listing of various legal terms in a word range format. Example, you want to open the range from AFLC up to end. So when you click on that, you want to read on the definition of ambulance chasing. Just click on the term ambulance chasing and you have the definition. Now what is nice about this is that the reference law, Republic Act number 10706 is actually an active link. So which when you click on it, will open to the full text of the law itself. Now, for jurisprudence, the material is arranged in reverse chronological order, meaning to say the latest first, no? So when you click on that, the latest uploaded, similar to what you saw on the Supreme Court website, is September 16, 2020, the case of People versus Buesa. Okay. For laws, you have all of this material inside the laws database. And if you want to open any of these materials, you just click on the last sign before it to expand the branch, expand the main topic. And as you can see, you have all the constitutions, even the records and the journals of the 1986 Constitutional Commission. And for statutes, let's open the Republic Acts just to see the latest. Latest Republic Act is the Bayanihan to Recover as one act. And when you click on that, it is in full text. Now, the search engine of CDH Online is internal to it. So you will not get any external links, no? It's site-specific only to CDH Online. And for example, you want to look for distracted driving. So when you click on search, it will tell you that there are 3 issuances where the phrase distracted driving is found in the title of the issuance. So it's very specific. Now, going to jurisprudence also has a template of its own. Now, you don't need to fill up all the fields of the template, but it's important that you fill up at least one. So for example, you're looking for the topic of inordinate delay. Click on search, and the system will tell us that there are 147 cases wherein the phrase inordinate delay is found. Medyo marami, so what you can do is filter down your research by adding another search parameter. So for example, the title field, we put Sandigan Bayan, meaning to say, I just want to look for inordinate delay and the word Sandigan Bayan together, with Sandigan Bayan appearing in the title of the case. So from 147, you click on search, you're down to 53 documents. It's a more manageable more manageable list. Now let's click open the case of De La Cruz versus Sandigan Bayan. Embodied in the system would be two features, the cross-reference and the cited in. The cross-reference will give us a list of laws and decisions cited in the body of the decision. So that when you click on that, this particular list will come out. So you have the laws and the jurisprudence. And this list is an active link. If you want to read any of the cited reference materials here, for example, the Ombudsman Administrative Order, you just click on that link and it will bring you to that portion of the decision where it was first cited. And since I am subscribed to both laws and jurisprudence, I can click on the rules of procedure of the Office of the Ombudsman as highlighted on the court decision, and it will open to my laws database for the Ombudsman Administrative Order number 7. Now, another button is cited in, meaning to say future citations of this particular issuance you're looking at. So when it was promulgated in 1990, it was used in 1991 onwards materials. No? So you want to find out where it was used, where it was cited. So when you click on cited in, you will also be provided a list. And when you click on the list, it's again an active link. Now, another feature of Citation Online is the citation finder, because sometimes what the researcher will give you is just a citation. So it's now up to you to look for that particular issuance, a particular case. So for example, you are given only the citation 122 Phil 752. Okay, this is a Philippine report citation. So we typed it in the citation finder, and we clicked on search, and the system will tell us that there are two titles pertaining to that page of the volume 122 of the Philippine reports. So on page 752, you have two titles. No? Bakit dalawa? Why two cases listed? So if you're familiar with case reporters, you will notice that one page can actually contain the end of one case and the beginning of another case. Kaya dalawa po sila titles. So the decision corresponding to the citation will be listed as the search results. No? So if you want to read, you can click it open. Okay. So when you click it open, let's read Ten Chavez versus Escano. You're now in the full page of Ten Chavez versus Escano. Okay. Now, you will notice on the left side of the screen, there are tools there that can actually be used, no, for your to maximize the use of this particular database. One of them is send via email. So if the student looking for a copy of the law, or if the researcher doing research in your library needs a copy, you don't have to print it out. You can just send it via email. So when you click on send via email, then you will have the recipient. Okay. And then you can even put a message. So ako nilagay ko message for class assignment. And when you click on send, the recipient now will receive this email with a PDF copy of the decision you sent, or the law that you will be sending, in her or his email box. That you want to copy and paste, and then open your word processing file. And as you paste it, what you will notice is that the citation is already automatically copied. So there's no need to retype the citation. Now, there is a help feature for the database so that you can make use of it. And also, what is important is after you have used the database, you have to log out so that, or sign out so that you can use it immediately again. Okay. So that ends my presentation. And as you can see from the screen, that is my email address. If you have questions that we cannot or we're not able to discuss in the open forum, you can send me an email. I'll just stop sharing. And I will now join you in the class. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Mios, for that very informative lecture on legal research. So now we will go to our forum. We will now accommodate questions from our participants. The first question is, what specific laws have no intent or deliberation?
I'm sorry, what specific laws have no intent or deliberation? Before a law is enacted, before a law is passed, there are deliberations on the proposed. What they do is they submit a bill, a proposed bill. So at that level pa lang po, there are already deliberations. Okay? So you will see the intent there in the deliberations. Only in the very loose definition of law, the only law na masasabi natin walang deliberations or intent would be those implementing. Kasi dapat hindi implement na lang nila yung law eh. So let's make a distinction. All legislative acts would have deliberations. But if these are like the executive orders or the administrative orders or the circulars just to implement the legislative act, then this would have no deliberations.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Next po is, when I do some news clippings, I usually include legal court decisions by attorney season, etc. Though we do not offer law in our school, but I am just anticipating the need. Is it okay?
Clippings of attorney season, that is a secondary authority. Okay? Because attorney season is considered as an author or a commentator on the subject matter that he's discussing. So that is a secondary authority. And yes, you can clip that particular article. Magaling po sa attorney season.
Thank you. Effectivity of laws to take effect, 15 days or can be shortened. Is it possible to lengthen the period before the law take effect?
Yes. The phrase, unless otherwise provided, as discussed and explained in the case of Tainana versus Tuvera, it can either be shortened or lengthened. Much longer siya. As an example, the Civil Code of the Philippines took effect 1 year after its complete publication. So it can be longer, the 15 days.
Next po is, which sources are more authoritative? The persuasive authority of the secondary authority or the secondary authorities?
Teka muna, medyo nalito na kayo ha. Okay.
Okay.
Class.
Yes.
Pag tinanong sa inyo, what kind of law, alright? What kind? Anong uring batas? Or what is the nature of the law? Then you discuss mandatory or persuasive. Okay. But if you are asked, where are you getting it from? Then you discuss primary and secondary sources. What is important to remember is that the nature of the law, okay, either mandatory or persuasive, is not changed kung saan mo siya nakita. Halimbawa, Supreme Court decisions published in CDA sa online. Supreme Court decisions are still mandatory authorities. Diba? However, you got it from a secondary source. Oh. So yung question na, which is more authoritative, persuasive authorities or secondary authorities? Okay. There is no, I would say, no comparison. Kasi yung secondary authorities, you do not, it's not actually binding at all. Wala siyang visa, no? Pero yung persuasive authorities, as in the absence of a mandatory authority, you can make use of it in your legal argumentation. Okay? So in practical terms, how does this apply? For example, in your legal research, sasabihin mo, as mentioned by Attorney Season in his article, this is how the law should be applied. Walang effect yun. Okay? Pero kunwari sabihin mo doon sa research mo na, per the BIR opinion number 001-2020, this particular law should apply because I have the same set of circumstances. Then, the reader or the user of your research can be persuaded to your line of thinking. Okay?
Yes. Okay. So since we are talking about persuasive authorities, the next question, your opinion on opinions of government agencies as persuasive authorities. If the government agencies are the PCOO and Office of the President, na ang spokespersons are like of Mocha Uson and Harry Roque.
Okay. Ang first question ko dyan, meron ba silang written opinions? Wala silang ganyan. Okay? So, at the most, they are commentaries. As which I said, no binding effect at all.
Okay.
Okay. Tingnan niyo po niyo yung definition ng mga in the Administrative Code of 1987, nandun yung mga definition ng mga what are opinions, what are rulings, what are rules, what are orders, circulars, etc. But I can also share that with you through B-Boy. I can send you the definition in an email.
Next question. When a case does not reach the Supreme Court, does the highest court, where the case stops, hold the highest authority?
Yes. Diba? Kasi hindi naman lahat dinadaan sa Supreme Court, right? Okay. But also, be very careful that the ruling of that subordinate court is not against or not contrary to any existing ruling of the Supreme Court. Okay? So in that particular instance, ang magiging nature of the ruling of the subordinate court, I would say, would be a persuasive authority. Kasi nga persuade mo siya na pareho kami ng facts. So ito na yung ano niya. Ito na yung ruling niya. But
next question. I see.
Okay, sorry. Going back to the question, in the absence of any higher court ruling, then that is the final authority. Kunwari, nag-away-away kayo sa pamana, mabot lang siya ng Court of Appeals level, tapos wala na nag-appeal. Then the decision of the Court of Appeals is the final authority on that particular case.
Thank you, Prof. Next, are there instances that a law has different interpretations?
Many times. You will see in our Supreme Court decisions different interpretations of different provisions of law. I will not go any further because I might be cited in contempt of court.
Okay, thank you. Next question is it okay to photocopy the whole PR or the Philippine Reports or Official Gazette or OG because these are primary source without violating copyright law?
Well, actually, you have to ask permission if you're doing that. That is, according to the fair use doctrine, you can only copy or photocopy portions of the law. Mag-subscribe na lang kayo or hiningi na lang kayo ng kopya ng Philippine Report sa Supreme Court. Okay? You can only copy or photocopy portions of the law. Kami po, when we produce our products, we had to ask permission. Okay. Okay. Having said that, laws or insurances are actually of the public domain. Pero kasi what you're photocopying is already a compilation from the agency. So then you have to ask permission. Okay?
Thank you. Related pa rin po dun sa question. Cases ang laman ng PR or Philippine Reports. Ganon din mga cases ang laman ng SCRA. Bakit bawal ipa-Xerox ang SCRA?
After as I said, portions of it can be Xerox under the fair use doctrine. Pero hindi mo pwedeng i-Xerox yung buong SCRA. Okay? Protected sila by copyright.
Okay. Next po, can we consider shepherdizing a legal research?
Okay, it's actually part of the process. Okay? It's actually part of the process. In Philippine jurisdiction, kaya po pinakita sa inyo yung cited in button doon sa CDs online. That is one way of shepherdizing. Makikita nyo whether or not a particular law has been amended or repealed. Okay? It should be part of the legal process. Once you look at a particular issuance, court decision or the law itself, you have to know whether or not it's still valid law.
In regards to official gazette, is that free access for individuals?
Yes, the official gazette online is free access to individuals.
Okay. What citation style is followed in legal articles?
How to cite, you mean?
I think citation style like
Okay.
APA or
In our jurisdiction, we follow, depending on where you studied or who you believe more, we follow the Harvard Blue Book of Citation as well as the Chicago Manual of Citation. The Harvard Blue Book of Citation is for legal reference materials. Okay. In our setting, I would also recommend that you acquire a copy of the Manual of Legal Citations of Professor Feliciano, because she has already compiled all the citation formats for Philippine law material. It is available at the bookstore of the UP Law Center. Alam po yan ni B-Boy.
Yes. Okay.
And I tell you, it's a very helpful book. It's a very helpful resource material.
Yes. Thank you po. How can we librarians could be more effective in helping our students, both law students or other students who have law-related subjects?
Okay. Okay. Let's be practical about this. When do students approach you ba? When do students approach librarians? So they approach librarians pagka meron silang hinahanap na hindi nila makita by themselves, right? So I guess the first is know your collection, the physical collection as well as the online resources available to your library. Okay. Second is, like in this webinar, know how to use the collection. So mean to say, you know where you will direct the researcher, a student, or even an external client. You know where to direct them. You can tell them, oh, you're looking for this, you go to this resource. Or you're looking for this material, you go to this compilation. Okay? And thirdly, you can be more proactive by conducting, in your respective libraries, conducting training sessions for your students or your clients in looking for materials found in your library. Siguro katulad din sa UP Law Library. Pasensya na kasi taga-UP ako eh. Parang sa UP Law Library, they have a catalog or a pamphlet of all the materials available in their collection. And that's also published in their website. So those are the ways that you can help your clientele as law librarians.
Thank you. Is there any sources that you can recommend where we can use if we are looking for a discussion before a law is approved or implemented?
You go to the Congress website, either the lower house or the Senate. In their website, there is a link to their bills or resolutions under the legis. It's L, that's Libra, Echo, Germany, India, Shera. Okay, click on that, makikita niyo po dun yung mga enrolled bills. Okay, sometimes they contain the discussions there.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, the most effective is physically go to the record section of lower house as well as the Senate. Pero mas parang, I'm not sure about the Senate, but I have been to the lower house records. Very organized naman po sila. And very helpful po yung mga tao dun sa record section.
Ano po ang magandang i-subscribe? Philippine Reports or SCRA?
Philippine Reports, because that's the official primary source. And sometimes if you tell that you're a law library, you tell that the Supreme Court, you ask for free copies.
Yes.
Free copies of the Philippine Reports. You don't even have to buy it.
So, thank you. Next, how frequent are resources in CD Asia updated?
Okay. As far as we usually, once we get the material, we usually give it a lead time of about 5 days before we upload the material. CD Asia Online,
Yes.
we upload the materials kagad. As you can see, para sa jurisprudence namin, parang simultaneous na kami with the Supreme Court.
Okay. And next question po, can we have a free trial for CD Asia?
For CD Asia, okay.
Yes.
That I have to ask permission for.
Okay.
Okay. But I don't think that will be a problem. Most of the law schools are already subscribed to CD Asia.
Okay.
But as I said, nonetheless, I will ask permission.
Thank you. I think this is the last question. Will you share the presentation and the recordings of this video?
Yes, I will be forwarding to the organizers a video recording of this lecture. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Mayos, for that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for that productive and rich discussion about legal research. So to conclude, when it comes to conducting legal research, being able to think like a lawyer is a good start. In order to find sources and determine which materials are relevant, researchers need to think not just like a lawyer, but also like a librarian, in particular, law librarian. Law librarians make excellent legal research for 2 reasons, according to Richard Buckingham in his article, Thinking Like a Librarian, Tips for Better Legal Research. Number 1, their knowledge for general or non-law specific research techniques. And number 2, their knowledge of legal resources and law-related research tools. So by applying traditional research techniques to the legal field, law librarians are able to research more efficiently and effectively. Our discussion today is very rich, and I hope everyone was able to take down notes, all the important points of our resource makers. Okay, we will now proceed to the awarding of certificate. May I request Ms. William Frias, NALL's President, and Mr. Rene Manlangit, the Vice President and the Conference Chair of NALL, to open your camera for a photo ops. Okay. So certificate reads, Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated, in partnership with Regalo Touching Lives, presents this certificate of appreciation to Attorney Maria Teresa G. Libunao for sharing her knowledge and expertise as a resource speaker during NALL's webinar with the theme Legal Research for Law Librarians on 22 October 2020. Signed, Ms. William S.A. Frias, President. Sino po ba magpipicture? Okay.
B-Boy, picture ka.
Okay, thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, Prof.
I
Mayo.
just want to, I just want to acknowledge now. Thank you also for having me. As I said, the librarians and librarianship is very close to my heart. So anything that I can do to help, just send me an email or a text message. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Prof. Okay. So, thank you very much, po. We will also be awarding a certificate of appreciation to our partner, Regalo Touching Lives. Sir Kaloy, can you please open your video? Thank you. So, certificate reads, Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated, or NALL, presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Regalo Touching Lives for sharing their time and resources as our partner during the conduct of NALL's webinar with the theme Legal Research for Law Librarians on 22 October 2020. Signed, Ms. Willian S.A. Frias, President. Picture po.
Screenshot.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you.
Pwedeng selfie, group selfie tayo.
Okay po. With Miss Joanne and Prof. Minas.
Nag-out
And
na si
attorney.
Joanne. Kasi
Ayan
hanggang 4 lang yung off.
Ay,
Okay.
Diyan pa.
And Prof. May. Okay.
Andiyan pa. Andiyan pa po.
Group selfie.
Yan.
Yan.
Okay.
Okay po ba? Tanggalin mo na ng face mo. Alright. Smile po. Harap sa camera. Okay po. Thank you.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you.
Thank you very much po, Prof. Mayos and Sir Kaloy for being with us today. So to end our webinar, may I call on the Vice President and the Conference Chair of the Network of Academic Law Librarians Incorporated, Mr. Rene B. Manlan.
Salamat, B-Boy. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Tapos na po ang ating pangatlong installment ng webinar series. Sana po marami tayong natutunan. Meron pa tayong 274 na participants. Kanina, umabot tayo ng 300 plus. So, medyo may na-encounter tayong konting problema sa pag-access ng iba. So, pasensya na po. We would like to thank our resource speaker, Ma'am Prof. Mayos Libunaw, para sa kanyang informative na talks na ang dami ko na take down notes, B-Boy, ha? Although alam ko na nag-take down notes pa rin ako para iba kasi yung nakasulat. Kaya meron tayong walkthrough na sinabi ni Ma'am sa 3 branches of government, legislative, executive, judiciary, yung pagkakaiba ng primary sa secondary, yung mandatory sa persuasive. So, madami tayong mga natutunan na makakatulong sa ating pagbalik natin sa ating mga silid-aklatan. At mapapansin po natin, pati yung legal research, tinakal po yung ating resource speaker. So, alam na po natin kung pagkakaiba o ang kalagahan ng free sites sa subscribe sites. So, kung magkakaroon tayo ng mga budget discussions sa inyong mga institution, pwede nyo yung ma-defend kasi alam nyo na yung pagkakaiba. Maraming salamat sa mga participants. Kung napansin po ngayon, pinayagan po natin yung hindi lang mga law librarians o mga law staff ang mag-attend. Kasi po, maaaring sa susunod na araw, sa susunod na buwan, pwede kayong ma-assign sa law library, hindi na kayo matatakot na tanggapin ang posisyong maging law librarian o law library staff kasi meron na kayong kaalaman na makakatulong para magampanan nyo ang tungkulin. Kaya po, minarapat ngayong 3rd series na payagan. Sana po siguro susunod na mga series, papayagan pa din yung iba na hindi naman law librarian para maka-attend. Pero selective lang po ang NALL. Yun lang po talagang mga directly na nag-work sa academic law library or may interest na mag-work sa law library ang binibigyan namin ng access link para maka-join. Hindi po ito para sa lahat ng mga librarians. Doon lang po sa academic or yung may interest na baka sa balang araw makalipat sa law library o maka-work sa law library. So maraming salamat po sa inyong pagbigay ng mga tanong. Masyado pong informative at sagot sana po ng lahat ng ating resource speaker. Yung iba po mga tanong na hindi nasagot, we will collate them po and we will just email you po yung sagot. Lalo po din sa mga very specific na mga tanong na pwede po naming masagot naman later on. So, in behalf of the officers of the Network of Academic Law Libraries, we would like to thank everyone and I declare this third webinar series closed. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, thank you, Sir Rene. Okay, we want to invite all the law librarians to be part of the network of academic law librarians. Please email us at nal.field2018@gmail.com. Okay, the link for our evaluation form is flashed on your screens. Please answer it to receive your e-certificate. So next month, in the celebration of the National Book Week, we will be having our 4th installment of our webinar series. Please follow us on our Facebook page, fb.com/nalph.org for updates. Okay. If you have more questions, you can email us at nal.field2018@gmail.com or message us through our FB page. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, everyone. This has been your host, B-Boy Cortez, saying stay healthy, safe, and God bless. Bye. Good afternoon.
All right. Thank you, B-Boy. Thank you, Attorney. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you po.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Carlos. Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Regalo. Thank you, Attorney.
Thank you po.
May mga tanong, message nila, email nila po ako. May opening sa Law Live. Okay po, pwede na po akong i-email. Nakikita mo ba sa NALL ang email ad po? Ano po ba yung mga tanong? Marami pong salamat.
All right. Off-air na po ako. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you,
Bye-bye
Kaloy.
po. Salamat po, Sir Kaloy.
Bye-bye.